The West Highland Way is probably the most popular and well-known long-distance hiking route in Scotland. It offers stunning scenery and is accessible even for beginners. Spanning 96 miles, the trail runs from Milngavie to Fort William, winding through a series of charming villages. What's great about the West Highland Way is that every hiker's experience is unique. You can choose to wild camp or stay in luxurious hotels, giving you the flexibility to decide how many days you want to take and at what pace you want to hike. No matter how you choose to tackle this trail, you are in for a gorgeous walk, enriched by a rich cultural experience. This was basically my first solo backpacking trip, and I didn't have the budget to upgrade my gear beforehand. Therefore, most of the items I used were things I already owned. While this gear worked for me, there is certainly room for improvement. As I go through each item, I'll include my thoughts on potential upgrades for future trips. I used a Glock 35-liter backpack for this trip. It was pretty lightweight and comfortable and had just enough space for my 7-day trek. I particularly liked its back panel suspension system. However, since it was my boyfriend's pack, it didn't fit me perfectly. Plus, I could use small exterior pockets for easier access to essentials. I'm looking into getting one from Adam Packs in the future. The first thing I pack is my inflatable sleeping pad from Sea to Summit, which I snagged during a Black Friday sale a few years ago. It's incredibly lightweight and compact, and it worked pretty well. No complaints about it. Next up is my sleeping bag. It's a cheap synthetic one from Naturehike with a 10-degree rating. While it wasn't quite warm enough, it's the only bag I have for now. Upgrading my sleeping bag is definitely my priority moving forward. It goes into my dry bag along with my thermal leggings, Baselayer, and spare socks. The spare socks came in particularly handy when I accidentally stepped into Loch Lomond on day 2, and with the rain, things don't dry out easily. There's still some space at the bottom of my pack, right in front of my sleeping gear, where I stuff a few miscellaneous items. There, I stuff my Sea to Summit microfiber towel. Absolutely love this tiny but mighty towel. It comes in handy when I shower at campsites. I also packed my toiletries here: a toothbrush, a travel-sized tub of toothpaste, a bit of soap, and some shampoo. Then I squeeze in my camp shoes, a pair of Montbell sock-on sandals. They are a bit on the heavier side, but they are so comfortable to walk around town in, and I can keep my socks on too. The last things that go into the bottom row are my tent pegs and poles, which came with the tent I bought. Next, I place my tent on top of my sleeping gear. I like to keep everything I need only after arriving at the campsite in the lower part of my backpack. The tent I used was the Alpkit Soloist. It was one of the lighter tents within my budget. I'm quite tiny, so it works fine for me, but I can imagine taller folks might find it a little bit tight. It held up well against the wind and rain during my hike and was really easy to set up. I didn't realize this before starting, but there are actually a lot of pubs along the way, so I ended up bringing more food than I needed. I didn't finish it all, but the ready-made meals I brought tasted alright even without heating them up. I packed a spoon and snacks in a Ziploc bag with the meals. I will be getting a cook system in the future so I can make myself some warm tea when it gets cold. Next to my food, I stored my electronics, which were pretty heavy since I was shooting a video. I have a wall plug, some cables, 2 power banks, and a drone charger in here. Then I have all my drone stuff in here. I used a DJI Air 2S, pretty standard. In the brain of my backpack, I stashed essentials like a headlamp, a Mitch headnet, a tiny first aid kit, Mitch repellent, and a rain cover for my backpack. On the side pockets, I kept my Peak Design carbon fiber travel tripod and trekking poles on one side, and my water bottle and wet wipes on the other. I know this tripod isn't that light, but I prefer using a trustworthy tripod with full height when I'm shooting videos. I got these poles from my friend who was going to throw them away after our trip in Nepal. Although I carried a water filter, I found there were plenty of water taps along the way, so I didn't end up needing it much. I also only used pub and campsite toilets this trip, but I would need to add a trowel to my gear list for future trips. On the straps of my pack, I have my Peak Design capture clip, which holds my camera and mic when I'm not using it. I was shooting with a Nikon Z6 and a 24-120 f4, which has been my main setup for years. In my pouch, I stored my GoPro for selfie shots, spare camera batteries, snacks, and my phone, basically all the items I needed easy access to throughout the day. But like I said, if I got the add-on pack, I would get mesh pockets on the straps and the bottom of the pack, and hip belt pockets, which would eliminate the need for this pouch. So these are what I wore on the trail. We are in the middle of a heat wave right now, so I'm just gonna show you instead of wearing them on me. For insulation, I relied on my Mammut Rime Flex hooded jacket paired with a North Face fleece. My rain jacket is from Colombia. These are the items I had on hand, and they performed well throughout the trek. When not in use, I simply stuffed my jackets in the main compartment of my pack. Underneath, I wore Montbell base layers and regular gym leggings, adding Montbell rain pants for extra protection in wet or windy conditions. My go-to socks are Smartwool, which I've trusted for years. As for footwear, I've logged countless miles in my Hoka and Akapa shoes. They're incredibly comfortable, breathable, and offer good stability on the trail. I also had a beanie and a neck gaiter on, as it really was quite cold. So that's about it, and it left me with a base weight of 11 kilograms and a total weight of 15 kilograms with consumables and water. Definitely not ultralight. The most popular time to hike the West Highland Way is during the summer months, from June to August. You'll get the warmest weather and longest daylight hours, but the trail will be busy with hikers and midges. I personally hiked the West Highland Way in late April and was lucky with only one day of rain all week. It was sunny but still quite cold, so I had to bring heavier clothing to stay warm. While I didn't encounter any midges, the trail wasn't as deserted as I expected. I met fellow hikers occasionally. Finding accommodations and places to eat wasn't an issue, and I didn't need to plan too far in advance. Typically, hikers complete the West Highland Way in about 6 to 9 days. However, the duration can vary based on individual preferences, fitness levels, and itinerary. I did it in 7 days. In hindsight, I definitely prefer hiking for more than 4 to 5 hours a day, as I didn't have much to do when I arrived at campsites early. If I were to do the West Highland Way again, I would probably do it in 6 days. Still, I did not regret choosing 7 days, as it allowed me more time to shoot my video and enjoy the scenery around me. You can check out my previous video for my whole itinerary and experience on the trail. There are countless ways to experience the West Highland Way, and your approach can significantly impact your overall cost. I aimed to hike on a tighter budget, but allowed myself some flexibility to dine out and use campsite facilities. Here's a breakdown of what I spent on the trail. And as always, you should follow the leave no trace principles when going on any trails. Happy trails!